What is up, guys, and welcome to my review of the new Jason Statham action film, The Beekeeper. And also of note, this is the newest film by director David Ayer, who's fairly well known, mostly for the debacle regarding his Suicide Squad film, unfortunately, but he's a director that I enjoy most of his films, and he's written some things that a lot of people don't even give him credit for, like Training Day. He wrote the first Fast and the Furious, which has turned into this massive franchise. He's a very interesting filmmaker. So you take a guy who's known for very gritty, street-level action thrillers, you throw Jason Statham, one of the best and most relevant action stars of today, one of the few action stars of today, put them in a movie together, you pretty much got my interest. And essentially what this movie is kind of a plot that we've seen numerous times before, where Jason Statham is this quiet beekeeper. He's friends with this older woman. She gets her identity stolen, gets all of her money ripped out of her accounts, and everything digitally just robbed from her. And he has this little set of skills that nobody knows about, so he activates and goes and just kicks ass all the way to the top to take down the people that did this to this woman that he cares about. And so right off of the bat, adding in the fact that it's a January movie, you know that this is probably going to be a bit of a dumb action movie, if nothing else. But that doesn't always mean it's a bad thing. Some dumb action films are some of the favorites of all time that we all watch continuously. So the question is this going to be dumb good or dumb bad?
Honey?
It's flammable as fuck. Who knew?
Starting off with the positives for The Beekeeper, to me, this was absolutely a successful throwback to the dumb action films of the 80s and even more so the 90s, where the violence is high, you got a kick-ass action star that can carry through all this action, all the violence, all the hand-to-hand combat, which Jason Statham has always done well with, even in bad movies. And you have a lot of style brought with David Ayer as a director, and he always likes to turn the grit up a bit, so there's bloody violence here. It is definitely rated R. The movie doesn't take itself seriously whatsoever. There's bee puns, for Christ's sake. I mean, they know this is a ridiculous premise, and they're having fun with that. It's a very self-aware movie. And so it's definitely going to be for specific audiences. There's some people that are going to see this and just get turned off and say that's way too dumb for me. And then there's people like me that love those old school violent action films that look past some of the familiarity here and say, you know what, that's just a good old-fashioned dumb kick-ass time. And Jason Statham, look, he is one of the only people today that you can call an action star, and it doesn't matter how bad the movie is. I'm always entertained by this guy. I mean, hell, last year we had Expendables 4, easily one of the worst films of the year, and yet I was still mildly entertained, and you would not have to twist my arm too hard to get me to watch that film a second time, because it's just 90 minutes of Jason Statham fucking people up. You know, he's in front of a shitty green screen this time, but it's Jason Statham fucking people up, and that's a formula that I enjoy.
Oh, what the fuck, bro? Don't move.
And I actually found the film to have a very self-aware, tongue-in-cheek humor to it. It's not like laugh-out-loud funny, but the deeper you get into this premise and the more that you find out about the Jason Statham character and what a beekeeper actually is, you can't help but laugh at the absurdity. I mean, there's scenes in here that are like straight out of John Wick, where you got an older guy that's been in the business for a while. He's like, yeah, this guy, he just fucked up all of my people. Oh my God. He's a beekeeper. What's a beekeeper? Well, he's this thing that works outside of the government, and he, basically protects the hive being the system, and as soon as the system starts to fall out of whack, he's activated, and nobody can stop him. So wait, explain this to me. So he's not only an actual beekeeper, but that's like some kind of a secret code name for what kind of an operative badass that this guy is. There's like an actual code name within the US government that they call a guy the Beekeeper. That you're telling me that's the plot of the movie? Yes? Okay, fuck it. You got Josh Hutcherson in here as kind of the main villain of the movie. He's the figurehead of this entire operation that's doing the identity theft and robbing all these people blind so that he can funnel the money where he wants it to be. And I thought it was a fun performance from him. It's a different kind of character. He's just absolutely a despicable douchebag. I mean, he's just snorting cocaine and rattling off these douchebag catchphrases. And you know the second that Jason Statham is face to face with him, he's going to last about 0.2 seconds in a fight with him. So they just have fun with him playing up his personality the entire movie. And you even have Jeremy Irons as kind of his second in command. He's almost like an evil Alfred. And so you have all these people that are cannon fodder that are just put there for Jason Statham to break bones and to stab and to, you know, throw off of fucking bridges and do all the crazy things that he's going to do throughout the runtime, all the while having some pretty big personalities that are the figureheads of the entire thing that were waiting for that confrontation. So I enjoyed the villainous performances that we got. And finally, I think that David Ayer did a pretty good job at filming the action. You know, we are so spoiled nowadays with things like the John Wick franchise and the Mission Impossible franchise, like these really high-performing, well-done action films that show you all the choreography and don't have all these cheap, quick cuts. And so I always walk into an action film that I know is going to be primarily hand-to-hand combat a little bit nervous. Is like, is this going to be where I'm going to be able to see the action, or is this just going to be a bunch of shaky cam and cuts? And David Ayer does a good job here, where there's definitely some stylization, there's definitely some quick cutting here and there, but you could see all the action, you could see every bone snap, you could see every knife go in, and I just like his gritty, violent style here. This is one of his most fun movies, and I enjoyed what him and Jason Statham's styles coming together turned out. Moving on to the mixed, this is an incredibly fast movie. Like, not just runtime wise, I think it's like just an hour and 45 minutes or something like that, which is nice. You know, we get so many 3-hour movies, that's nice. But it's edited together and the story is crunched together so tightly that the movie just moves at a breakneck pace from the moment it starts. I mean, there's no lull whatsoever. This thing just moved in the theaters, which again, very relieving, especially for a movie like this. But at the same time, there were a number of scenes that I felt like should have breathed a little bit longer. Like, there was just moments where it cut to something else, or something immediately got introduced and then it was paid off a few minutes later. It felt like the movie was rushing in moments. So while I appreciate the fact that we get a movie like this that's very easily digestible, it's very fast-paced, and you never are bored, you're never like losing your interest in the film, I felt like it could have been 10 minutes longer and just let certain sequences breathe a bit better, and the movie would have felt a bit more relaxed. Moving on to the negatives, there is a FBI detective character that is introduced here who is kind of the one that knows that Jason Statham is the one doing all these things, and she's kind of hunting him while simultaneously hunting the people that Jason Statham is going after. And I just didn't like her character. I didn't like the way her character was written. There's just this weird details that were given about her where she's kind of an alcoholic and she always wears her college alumni shirt even though she's been graduated for many, many years with her FBI jacket over the top of it. She's always kind of joking around and not taking things seriously whatsoever. And basically her entire investigation, the clues and the details that she needs are more or less just dropped in front of her, or she just happens to know. Like, this is a movie that does not go for logic whatsoever, and we'll get into that in a second, but her character specifically, to be like the good guy counterpoint to the anti-hero badass that Jason Statham's character is, I just didn't think she had enough charm or wasn't written to be charming enough to really merit her existence, to where halfway through the movie, every time it started to cut back to her, I was like, ugh, get back to Statham. And the other thing, which is absolutely the biggest thing that you're going to hail against this movie, you're going to see every single review talk about it, whether it's a positive or a negative review, this script is terrible. Like, the story in this movie is dumb as fuck, and there's so many logic gaps here. There is so much that happens just out of thin air. People always know where to go. People always know who to go to. Like, Jason Statham just appears in places. Like I said, the detective character, just every single piece of her investigation is just like, Eureka! Eureka! Left and right. I mean, it moves at a breakneck pace because there's not any time for these characters to actually do any kind of work to get from plot point B to plot point C. But if you stop to think about it for more than a second, the whole thing just crumbles. So this is going to live or die a terrible death on whether or not you can shut your brain off and just enjoy a dumb, fun action film. This is not something to be taken seriously whatsoever. This is not something to dissect the logic or dissect the reasoning in the storytelling. It is an excuse to get Jason Statham to beat the fuck out of like 50 dudes for 90 minutes. If you're on board for that, you'll probably have fun with it. If that's just way too much of an ask, movie's not going to sell you. So overall, I actually really enjoyed this. I was surprised how much I enjoyed it. Tomorrow's my birthday. This is kind of my birthday movie, and it's always nice for somebody with a January birthday to have a good experience with their birthday film. I like Jason Statham. I like what he does. Even when his movies are mediocre, I still have some enjoyment out of it. So take that with a grain of salt that I'm recommending this, but if what I'm saying this movie delivers and does well interests you, if you're that type of old school action fan, I think you'll have a good time with this, whether you pay to see it in theaters or wait for it to hit VOD. But if you're not a fan of that genre, I don't even know why you're watching this review. This is not a movie for you. Well, that's it for this one, guys. If you enjoyed that, please click over here for all of my 2024 new release reviews. I'm also going to put my playlist up here of all of my end of the year rankings, my best, worst, most surprising, most disappointing, all that good stuff from 2023. And tomorrow, on my birthday, come hell or high water, I'm gonna have my video where I rank all 121 films I saw last year. So please like, share, hit the subscribe button so you do not miss that. And as always, remember, opinions are like assholes, but that doesn't mean you have to be.